everything we know is all based on the information that we get, the information that we have, the information that comes to us through our five senses, and the information that we are given by external sources. But have you ever got the feeling that everything is fake, that it's just one big puppet show, one big theatre show, and that everything we're being fed is misinformation?
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 I'll probably say it 3 more times. See, in my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in, to kind of catapult the propaganda.
Do not kill with my gun. He who kills with his gun has forgotten the face of his father. I kill with my heart.
Stop breathing.
Fight! Fight it!
It never works on you, does it, Roland? The power you have to resist my magics. Not forever.
We have Martin Kenny, and on the opposing side, scientist, cosmologist, Sarah Bosman. Martin, we have to go to you first of all. Why do you think it didn't happen?
Well, there's overwhelming proof that it didn't happen. There's people researching this topic a lot more. We're in the age of technology now. I think in the past, like you're saying, we had no way of verifying anything we were told. So we saw the moon landings. Well, you saw the moon landings, and you believed it, but there was no way for you to check any of it. And now we're in the age of technology. As you said, a lot of the young people believe that it was faked, and that's because they are now investigating for themselves.
I find it very interesting, and we'll talk to Sarah in a minute about the scientific side that she believes. But for me, personally, I just think far too many people would have had to
cover it up.
Cover up for far too many years.
Well, how many people,
to never have slipped up.
How many people have supposedly gone beyond low Earth orbit, beyond 200 miles off the Earth?
No idea.
24. The entire history of humanity.
But what?
24 people.
So your point is
only 24.
But
so
what
I'm
Ruth's saying
is
there was a whole control centre, operations centre, backup control, all sorts of things.
Do you know what happens in the finance department of ITV?
In the finance department?
No idea. Do you know what happens? Do you know what happens in the executive office of ITV, right at the top?
No, but if somebody was covering something
they tell you nothing, exactly.
Yeah, but if
so if something did happen...
But if somebody's covering something up, everybody would have to cover it up.
No, they wouldn't, because you would know
Sarah,
about it.
what do you think?
Well, there were also a lot of engineers, of course, working on these for years and years. They had to come into their job every morning thinking they were developing a rocket. And that's thousands of people being involved in the development and the testing in the labs, people overseeing the labs. It's not only the 24 people who actually went off the Earth. It's the whole organization of NASA and the Apollo program.
The position of the sun shadows, you will add to that, that today, using today's technology, you cannot see footprints, which you believe shouldn't have ever blown away.
Yep. Well, here's the smoking gun. Here's the smoking gun. We can argue all day long about, you know, what I think, we've never been to the moon. None of us have been, you know, below the surface, a certain, you know, altitude. Now, the only way we can discern whether this happened or not is by analyzing and studying the actual data that was taken during those Apollo missions, right? The scientific data.
True. That's not true.
Hold on, let me finish, right? So that's the telemetry data, right? So during those 4 years that they did the Apollo missions, they collected loads of data, you know, biometrical data, design blueprints, etc., right? To end this, if we had the data now, and we could scrutinize it, if we could test it, which is the scientific method, test it, observe and research. Not only has it not been released, NASA destroyed it.
Well, or lost
Why
it.
would they have destroyed
NASA
it?
Well, hang on. Donald Petit, NASA astronaut and chemical engineer. This is a direct quote from him. There's a video of him actually saying this, and I quote, "I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed the technology, and it's a painful process to build up again."
We don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
In that context, absolutely. In that context, absolutely. I completely agree with him. The technology we had at the time was so ridiculously obsolete. There was nothing we could do with it anymore. It's like if you have a car from 60 years ago that was unique. If you try to repair all the parts one by one, it's going to take you way too much money. We don't run cars that way anymore. It was scrapped eventually because it was just too outdated. So, of course, it was destroyed, the technology in that sense. We don't have it anymore. It wouldn't run.
But Sarah, we got the technology together to go there. Why haven't we been back since, is it, what, the 70s?
This rare clip, attained decades ago, was never re-released with the inevitable increase in experience and scrutiny. To demonstrate 1/6 gravity, a bouncy, floaty feel to the astronauts' movements would be similarly achieved with relative simplicity. Slow motion. You are viewing the scenes as they aired more than 30 years ago. Now let's look at them with the speed doubled. It becomes discernible that they are, in fact, in Earth's gravity, and are no more leaving the ground than they would on Earth. It is clear from these rarely seen colour television pictures that the crew of Apollo 11 brought a high-resolution colour video camera with them on their mission, yet the only pictures broadcast live from the moon's surface were these from a low-definition black and white camera. In fact, the networks complained because in addition to this, they were forced to shoot the images, second generation, off of a projection TV of the technology of 30 years ago, and were not even allowed to take a direct feed, which further degraded the quality and clarity of the images. Perhaps this was precisely what NASA and the federal government had in mind. After all, it was a first, regardless of where they were. Better to open up their debut mission with fuzzy pictures and numerous blackouts, rather than show too much revealing detail of a false scene that was yet unproven. And finally...
See, Martin actually believes what we think. Some people believe the moon's made of cheese. What do you think the moon is made of?
What I know the moon is, it's a luminary. That's all I know.
What? It shines?
It's a luminary. It's a luminary of some sort. So I can't go beyond that. And, you know, again, we're living in the age of technology. You know, you've got a P900 camera now you can buy for under £1,000.
Yeah.
And you can zoom in to the moon. That's supposed to be, by the way, 238,000 miles away in deep, dark space. And yet you can zoom in quite close in detail with a commercial camera. And people have taken photographs and images showing it sometimes translucent. You can see through it, right? Sometimes it's got something called...
...that you're looking at on March 8th. It was a Wednesday afternoon, about 5:20 or so, East Coast time. And it's about an hour and a half before sundown. Sun's low in the sky. And you can see from the shadows in the video where I'm shooting, the moon, the bottom left side is not lit, right? But you can clearly see by turning around where the sun's position is in the sky that it should definitely be lit. Why is that not lit? And I still have yet, from 6 months ago when I posted a similar video, I still have yet to find a good explanation.
That's one of the first ones I put up, is when we were in the parking lot looking up, and it was just an odd angle. The sun was actually on the same side as the shadow of the moon. It was like the bottom right-hand side,
right?
But the sun was over to the right.
Right. The sun should clearly, if my eyeballs can look up and see that shadowed part of the moon, the sun is right by me. It could see it too. It should have been able to be lit, and it's not. So that's kind of like, a repeat of what other people have been posting lately. But the second thing I want to talk about is I still have yet to get a great answer as to why the craters on the moon are always the same color as the sky behind it. And what I mean by that is at night, when you look at the moon at night, well, the craters are always shades of black, right? Gray, black, lighter or darker, so to speak. And in the daytime, on a blue sky, they're blue. Now, if the moon is actually out of our atmosphere, as science tells us, 238,000 miles away, why would the color of our atmosphere, the color of our sky, have anything to do with the craters on the moon?
GWB, rock the vote, exercise your voting rights.
Days until the midterms, and as we get closer, how concerned should we be about election hacking? Josh Lipton live in Las Vegas with more on that story. Josh.
Seema, as midterm elections approach here, election security is front and center here at Black Hat. Election security expert Karsten Sherman walked us through just how vulnerable our voting machines can be. So, Karsten, walk me through how we're going to hack a win-vote machine.
Okay. The first thing we're going to do is we connect wirelessly to this machine. And so when we press join, now we are connected to the machine.
That's it?
That's it. What we learned from this is do not use wireless access points on voting machines. Just don't do it. And if you doubt that this is actually the win-vote machine, we can just look and list the directory. And here you see there's a directory called WinVote. And so we can also go into this directory, WinVote. I'm just kind of press demo, and then I will have control over it.
And now you've successfully broken into the machine at this point.
I have broken into.
And you could actually, at this point, you would actually have access to the voter database.
Yes.
Which means you would be able, in theory, to change the votes.
That's correct.
Now, the win-vote machines you guys saw in that piece there have actually been decommissioned, but Sherman tells me there are still voting machines out there right now that he would be concerned with because, like win-vote machines, they don't actually produce a hard paper trail. If you don't have that, he says, they can be very hard to tell whether a cybersecurity attack actually happened. Guys?
Yikes. Now, you're there at that Black Hat conference. You were part of a different kind of a hacking show until today. They're hacking pacemakers as well?
Yeah, this is wild, Bill. So I did just catch up with two security researchers, Billy Rios and Jonathan Beatz, and they showed me how they were able to actually hack their way right into a Medtronic programmer. That's the device, remember, that controls pacemakers. So they were able to hack into a programmer in really just a couple minutes. That's actually all it took. Using a laptop, they could, for example, hop on a hospital's network and compromise the programmer, and they could do whatever they want. In theory, that means they could actually change patient therapy if they chose to. There's about 33,000 of these specific programmers out there. We did reach out to Medtronic, the company telling CNBC they have existing controls in place to mitigate the issue. We strongly believe and have found that the therapeutic benefits of our products far outweigh potential security risks. Guys?
Gosh.
Holy cow.
So scary. Grandma and Grandpa, listen up.
Yeah. And that everything we're being fed is misinformation.
Computer hacker who
who warned that implanted medical devices like pacemakers are vulnerable to fatal cyber attacks. He was found dead just days before he was to give a major presentation on this danger. ABC's Lindsay Davis is here with all of that. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, Robin. It sounds like something you'd only see in a suspense thriller. Hackers able to wirelessly tinker with people's pacemakers, sending a fatal electric shock to the life-saving devices. And just to be clear, there are no indications that Barnaby Jack, the man who discovered this flaw, had a pacemaker, but some find his unexpected death rather mysterious.
His pacemaker can be wirelessly accessed with that number.
It was the shocking plot twist on the hit show Homeland.
I'm killing you.
That scene got many wondering, is it actually possible to hack implantable medical devices, specifically pacemakers? According to this man, the answer is yes. Professional hacker Barnaby Jack was set to reveal the secrets of just how it can be done this past weekend, until he mysteriously turned up dead.
There's two ways.
Just days before the 35-year-old was to speak on hacking humans at a major Las Vegas hacking convention.
He was able to remotely exploit them, and this talk was really dedicated to how the manufacturers could improve the security of the devices.
His girlfriend discovered his body in his San Francisco home on July 25th. Now the coroner's office is trying to determine just how Jack died. This morning, questions, even conspiracy theories are swirling all around the untimely death of the so-called ethical hacker who once wowed audiences with his demonstration of ATM hacking. Jack dedicated his career to using his skills to expose vulnerabilities hackers can attack, helping manufacturers develop tighter safety measures.
He wanted to know, how could that stuff down there fail? And especially, how could it fail if there were some not nice people out there trying to make it crash?
As for Jack's warning about hackable implants, the FDA says there is no cause for alarm for the nearly 3 million Americans who have pacemakers, saying it is not aware of any patient injuries or deaths associated with these incidents, nor do we have any indication that any specific devices or systems in clinical use have been purposely targeted at this time.
If you go to the dark side of this, could unleash the ability people to commit murder, in effect, to speed up pacemakers, shut them down.
Meanwhile, some are now left wondering whether he could have been purposely targeted over his life's work.